guess first following up, I mean, we've just come from speaking to Neil and to Alex I follow. I think this is the first large group of reporters they've spoken to about their close friend Adam Johnson. That cannot be an easy thing to share with the people who didn't know him, people who weren't around him all the time. But what have you seen from them over this last little while?
Yeah, I knew it was going to be, obviously they knew also that they're going to have to speak about it. The best part for them, if you want to call it that, is that they got to go through all the other things first. They got to go to the funeral, the celebration of life. They got to be with family and friends there and sort of get other, express themselves to them. And, just to be, to be in that scenario has helped them to kind of move forward here. But like I've said, both of them handled themselves, all of them have handled themselves extremely well through all of this. And it hasn't affected their play, and I think the support of their teammates and their families, and everybody has really kind of helped them get to this point.
As their coach, you're preparing to win hockey games, and you're doing that, and you're getting good performances from them. But are there moments where you see them sit in their grief, or maybe even celebrate, or like share the best stories of their friends?
It was nice at times on this last road trip to see them laugh. There was some scenarios around the room or on the ice that he saw it. Also saw some emotion a couple times there that, you could tell some certain things hit, especially when P scored his goal in St. Louis. And so the guys were all right there to console them and to get them back into it. And but I really, for them, it just takes time, and the time has helped them here to kind of. They've grieved, and now they're kind of, the one thing is that they both got a chance to talk about a lot of really good stories that have happened with Adam in the past, and those are the memories they want to keep, obviously.
Nothing easy about the situation, but one thing organizationally that's been noted, the charter flight to get them there, and time being so precious. I think Neil said it, or Alex said that it was a difference between 4 hours and like 24 hours or something in terms of how much extra time they got to be away. Pardon me. As well as I think Neil shared that he's taking advantage of team services in terms of helping deal with this. What does that say about the organization? Is there a sense of pride that these right things are happening?
Yeah, I think that the Jets, Winnipeg, have taken a shot over the years for different things, whatever it might be. But players maybe not wanting to play here, but I'll tell you, I've known this for a long time, that they'll do anything to be always first class, to do everything, go out of their way to make sure that not only the players but their families are looked after. And this was just another example of our ownership making sure that they got them on a private jet that flew them right into Hibbing. Got to be a part of 2,500 people at that celebration of life, being around a lot of people that were there, and how many of those people were so happy to see them there, and they got the opportunity to be there. And for our organization, that's just that's something that we'll always do. And it's been said, we're family and we'll look after each other, and that's just another real good example of it happening. And for those guys to just feel comfort knowing that happened, and they are extremely thankful for it as well. And I know they've all reached out to Mark and to Chevy, and so we're just glad that we could help in any kind of way we could.
So I hear the same stuff about Winnipeg. I grew up here, or in a small town an hour away from here, Pinawa, and I hear all the things. But do you have a sense? Have you ever had a real good example or a sense of nice things like this, positive things the organization does, resonating with people outside of here who don't know it as well?
I came here in '81, so I've been living it too for a long time. But at the same time, in my short, brief time here, we've had players that have been traded in or signed here that said, we don't do this. So whether it might be the hotels we stay at on the road, whether it's the food service that we have here available for these guys every day, the services that are available to their families away when we're away, or whatever it might be, medical, any of those type of things that we try to make sure that we've always tried to make sure that we go above and beyond and make sure that we're doing things as best and as most professional as we possibly can, and we go out of our way to make sure that we do the right things for family and players here.
On the ice, some good defense to offense and transition yesterday. I think they got a goal where you probably had a breakout available to you as well. What's the lessons, or what's the mission going forward for these next games?
Yeah, that game last night, that was a wild one in all sense. But 5-on-5, I thought we were, we did. Sorry, our specialty teams were good, but at the end of the day, we did a lot of good things. But another great example again, Mark and KC pouring back on that back check and creating the turnover and then going down and scoring. Those are the things that are easy to keep showing the players. It isn't just the highlight goal, and obviously Casey's goal was fantastic, but it's what happened down in the other end of the rink, and that's what we've been trying to preach. And it's going to break down. Sometimes it isn't always going to work. I mean. But at the end of the day, these guys have been doing this now. We've been pretty consistent with it here for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it's getting results for us.
Scott, you've mentioned repeatedly that this team has to play the way that it does in order to be successful. But when you've got, say, a Dallas or before Los Angeles or Vegas, is it a little bit different in terms of how you go about executing that game plan that you would against a Nashville or
No, I don't think it is. I really don't think if you start trying to change the way you play mid-game, I mean, there's certainly things you're going to change sometimes in a game situation, maybe some, whether face-off, different kind of breakouts, whatever it might be. But when it comes to your mindset and your details and, your preparation, those have to be the same all the time. And I think that, sometimes maybe, like, the biggest difference with those top teams is that when you make a mistake, it'll end up in your net. So you really have to make sure that you're on point with all your situations. And you don't ever want to say you can get away with it against some of the weaker teams, because there are no weaker teams. This league is, especially this time of year, everybody's still up and running, and nobody's out of it. So you know what? Hopefully we don't ever change our game in those games against those big teams. Those are the ones that we got to continue to climb. And tomorrow afternoon is a great start. Like we beat some real good teams, and now we're going to face a team that's sitting above us. Now we got to do it again, but we've got to be on point with everybody playing the way we need to play.
Real interesting dynamic with Dallas, though. I mean, they're number one in the penalty kill.
Yep.
And they're right down near the bottom with the power play. Is a coach, when you're going, this year it's got to get both of them up, but when you got one going and the other one not, how do you handle that in terms of focus and not making too big of a deal of it?
Yeah, it's funny because the reverse is usually all the power plays are running hot right now. The PKs gradually work themselves as they grow, the season goes on. But yeah, I don't know what their issues are, but in the sense of, it's just sometimes it's the way things kind of work themselves out. And no different from us. A couple weeks ago, we were worried about our power play. Now it's doing what it needs to do. So, yeah, we'll let Pete worry about his situation there in Dallas, and we got to take care of our business. But it just, it's easy. Like I said, it's rare because it's usually power plays are running hot right now. I mean, Jersey's running at an unreal number. We saw what Edmonton did last year, but they did it on a consistent basis. But we do have our work cut out for us with their penalty kill. It is real good right now.
So every team has high in talent, but what makes the Stars' top line so difficult to handle?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, Pavelski seems like, he's been around. They got two really good lines. I mean, Rupe Hentz is a world-class player, great speed. And, even Wyatt Johnson, a young kid that has stepped forward here, is a real good player. But Pavelski, Ben, they've got veteran guys that have, been around and know how to, know what it takes to have success. Pete plays a real good system for those guys. It hasn't changed for the last couple of years. And, they had a real good series against Vegas. That could have gone either way. But at the end of the day, they just, that group, plays every night. They play a pretty consistent style of play, and it's constant, and it keeps coming at you. And a real good goaltender in the back of the net.
Just one for me.
Yep.
You've known this ownership group for a while now, even before you got here. The fact that the guys got chartered to Minnesota and back, what does that say? And how does it resonate maybe across the league? I was talking to Brendan. He said, when you go home in summer, is that something you talk about between guys that, the team went out of its way to kind of, do that for somebody? But how much does that, I guess, mean to resonate?
Yeah, we talked about it. But the one thing that even going back to the Moose days, but obviously it's that Mark Chip and the ownership group want to do everything possible to make this first-class organization. So sometimes it's a hard sell to get people to come, but we're never ever going to cut corners when it comes to stuff like that. And it just shows the passion and how much we care about family and care about the players. I did mention that there's lots of players that have mentioned me, there's lots of things that we do as a team that they haven't done in other cities. And so it's just, that doesn't need to be a question mark for us. You know, we can't do anything about the weather, or we can't do anything about you know, whatever it might be. But when it comes to treating players and families first class, that's one thing Mark Chipman and the organization has done right from the beginning.